So as David says, Labour's been struggling to find its position on Brexit since that vote in 2016, and the party's still divided on the issue. The Shadow Minister for Scotland, Paul Sweeney, is here with us now. Good morning to you. The reality is that the position of Labour, a jobs-first Brexit, doesn't really exist, does it?
I think it does, because we have to approach this with a bit of rigour. And our guiding principle when we're walking across that tightrope, spinning the plates, is that we have to abide by and stand against our 6 tests. Those are guiding us through this process in Parliament. The great concession we achieved in the last few months has been to ensure that Parliament will have the final say over this Brexit deal. That was crucial, because this power grab by Theresa May in Downing Street was totally an affront to democracy. It was unacceptable that the Prime Minister alone and her cabinet, chaotic cabinet, was able to decide the entire terms of this deal. So getting Parliament to decide the terms at the end is critical, and that's what Labour succeeded.
Parliament's not deciding the terms at the end, are they? Because we're told by Conservative members that what Parliament will decide is yea or nay to the deal. So ultimately, your option is the deal Theresa May negotiated or a cliff edge.
No, I think what we're going to see is when we come back to the House of Commons with the EU withdrawal bill, Labour is going to push for 3 critical amendments to ensure its tests can be tested, if you like. So what we're going to be looking at is ensuring that the single market, a customs union test is put back on as an amendment, so that customs union or a customs union is put back on the table as an option for the government. We're also wanting to ensure that we have a no hard border in Northern Ireland. That's got to be critical, and we can't do that without a form of customs union. The Tories were utterly reckless to rule that out of hand, and also we need to ensure that if Parliament does reject that deal, that Parliament will decide what happens next, not the executive.
Isn't part of the problem, though, that Emily Thornberry's let the cat out of the bag when she said yesterday that ultimately she believed that Labour would probably vote with the Tories to support this Brexit deal? We know what your position is now.
No, not at all. What Emily was referring to was the fact that the Tories have been so chaotic on this and so vague, as she referred to it, as a blah-blah arrangement at the moment. We have no definition over the Northern Irish border.
So vague that Labour would vote for it, she said.
No, not at all. The Labour's position is if the 6 tests can't be met, and they currently can't be met, then we won't vote for that deal. And that's why we're tabling these 3 amendments. If we can't achieve those amendments, that puts the proposition of supporting that deal in a very, very slim line indeed. And that's why we have to have Parliament deciding on what happens next.
Point 2 of those 6 points is that this deal has to deliver the exact same benefits as we currently have as members of the single market and the customs union. If you want the exact same benefits, why don't you want membership of the single market?
Well, the critical difference there is the exact same benefits also include being able to influence what happens in terms of creation rules and regulations. If we leave as a member state of the European Union, we lose that sovereignty, we lose that ability to shape the rules. We'd simply take the rules. So, for example, why would we let Denmark decide what happens to Scottish fishermen and the regulation of the Scottish fishermen industry? That's not an acceptable proposition.
You believe there is a position that the UK can have where we can influence the rules and have the exact same benefits as we currently have, but not be members of the single market?
Yes, that's why we believe that we can negotiate a time-limited transition deal on exactly the same terms, and that gives us the space to negotiate a new, unique UK-EU customs union.
So the EU will agree to your position, which says you're not a member of the single market, but you have the same rights as people who are members of the single market, even though the UK voted to walk away from membership.
Well, the critical difference between the Tories and Labour is that we're proposing complete alignment on things like employment standards and regulations, and that's the key difference. We're proposing to maintain the level playing field, and that's the key sticking point in negotiating a complete alignment deal on the single market. That's the key difference. If we can negotiate that settlement to ensure that there's complete alignment and no divergence from the European rules and regulations that govern the single market and ensure harmony within the single market, then we can negotiate a deal, because Britain, after all, is one of the big 3 economies in Europe, and it would be mutually beneficial to have that arrangement. And that's why we think as long as we can negotiate that basis, that level playing field, we will be able to maintain a significant harmony through a new, unique UK-EU single market deal and a bespoke customs union arrangement, a UK-EU customs union arrangement.
Just a final point. We've got your colleague John Woodcock planning to resign the Labour whip in protest over Jeremy Corbyn's leadership. There are problems with Dan Jarvis, who wants to be the mayor. We've got Owen Smith being sacked for suggesting a second referendum. We've got Labour, even under the Tories and everything that's going on with Brexit, trailing behind. Where is Labour a government in waiting?
Well, it's a Labour government in waiting, because we can just see how chaotic the Tory party is at the moment.
Well, I'm just giving you the chaos within Labour.
Well, that's not exactly chaos within Labour. There's people on the back benches who maybe are particularly zealous about this issue over Europe, as all parties have that kind of fissure running through it, because all parties were split over the issue of Europe. We have people in the SNP who were leavers. We have people in the Tories, obviously, were Leavers and Remainers as well. The Tory party has been riven by divisions over Europe all since the 1980s. It's been their kryptonite, if you will. So it's an issue that affects all parties. What we see with Labour is a unique definition on the six tests that are in the best interest of the UK. That is the only rational position at the moment, are Labour's six tests, and that's why we are a government in waiting.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning. That's the Shadow Minister for Scotland, Paul Sweeney.